Okay, I am insane what ifs. This isn't necessarily my first video, but I'll be doing what if Izuku was a natsu. I just thought of this idea and I had to do it, so it starts out with actually how Natsu was transported in time. I didn't watch it fully to be able to understand why or how, but I'm gonna say it messes up and it ends up transporting him into the future into uh the My Hero Academia world. And the only difference between that is, of course, Izuku's named Izuku, and as growing up after being raised by uh I forgot the dragon's name, but being raised by the dragon, same thing happens. Dragon flies off and Izuku is found by a green-haired lady, and this is Inko. So she adopts him and instantly takes him to the quirk doctor after getting all that settled to see if he has a quirk. But it's found he doesn't have a quirk. At least that's what the doctor says until Zuko says, then why can I do this? And shows him, shows the doctor his fire ability. And the doctor is surprised by this, but doesn't question it. Could it just be a rare kind of quirk that they can't, that's hard to detect or something? So his quirk is deemed as fire. Not really know, without them not really knowing what else to call it. So that concludes that part. Um, then he, throughout his childhood, he had a quirk, so he wasn't bullied because he's quite strong, and he was actually liked by most of the people because he had an upbeat attitude, unlike Bakugo. So he wasn't uh just yelling at them all the time. So he had pretty much the whole school was friends with him, and we get to the end of middle school when that whole the teacher throwing the papers in the air and stuff. And everyone, of course, using their quirks because they're excited because of what the teacher said that they're going to be heroes. Bakugo started to stand up and was about to give his stupid speech about how they wouldn't make it to D-list sidekicks as D-listers. But before he could, Izuku bopped him over the head. And Bakugo said, "Oi, what was that for?" And Izuku said, "Just shut up before you make an enemy out of everyone in this class." Bakugo just sat down, realizing what he was, what would have happened. Probably gotten ridiculed by the rest of the class. And he may be cocky and stuff, but it doesn't matter how much you don't care, you do care. So, yeah. But enough of that. Zuko does still take the short way under the bridge, and the sludge monster tries to attack him. And the sludge monster fails because as soon as the sludge monster latches onto Izuku, Izuku ignites pretty much ignites himself in flames, boiling the sludge monster. But not to the point where it would kill the sludge monster, but it uh, hurt the sludge enough to knock it out. And when All Might came and says, "Don't worry, 'cause I am here," or whatever he's doing, and he says, "Well, where's the sludge villain?" And Izuku says he's over there, pointing directly at it. And, and All Might asks, "Did you do this by yourself?" "Yeah, he tried to attack me," Izuku replied. And then All Might says, "Well, what's your quirk, young man?" It's labeled as fire, but I think there's more to it." "Oh, nice. Well, hopefully you're going to become a hero." And Izuku says, "I'm planning on it, going to UA." And then All Might says, "Oh, then I might just see you at UA." And then they separate, and the 10 month for training, Izuku um, basically just exercises, like doing push ups and other stuff rapidly for fun mostly, and also uh, testing what his flames can do. Because even though he's still trained by Igneal, of course he's going to want to test out his flame. But after that, it's time for the entrance exam. And he enters, and he actually doesn't trip, so he doesn't meet Baraka right there and then. But he goes into the to UA campus to go to the written test first, because that's where they go first. And he may not be, he's not too bright, so he just gets a passing grade on the test. But then they're all put into a um like stadium thing where they're listening to President Mike speak. And no. Oof. And Izuku is spaced out when is kind of spaced out, but still half listening to what President Mike is saying. As President Mike was explaining the robots, then a blue-haired boy stands up and says, "You forgot a robot. This is highly unprofessional. I am incredibly ashamed of UA for missing such an important detail." And and then he turns over to look at Izuku and says, "And you, if you're not willing to pay attention, then did you even bother to come here? You plan on being a real hero, you need to pay more attention." And Izuku just looks at him and says, be quiet. He was just about to explain it anyway. I don't really need to listen. All I need to do is beat up some robots. And he gives a cheeky grin. And President Mike says, "I was just about to get to the zero pointer. So, blue haired boy, would you sit down?" And Ida sits down. And then he explains the zero pointer is basically an obstacle and just to avoid it. And after that, the first moment that the oh, that there's enough room for a person to get through the gates, Izuku immediately uses his fire and launches off and fly and practically it's like a jump because he can't really fly with his flames. And pretty much jumps right over everyone over into the thing, running super fast to get to the first group of robots and beating them to bits. And then someone shouts out, "He's cheating. He went before the time." And then President Mark says, "What are you doing waiting here? Heroes don't wait to step into action. You should be following that kid. Go, go, go." And Izuku racks up 1,000 points, and they had to send in a bunch of extra robots just because Izuku destroyed most of them. And after he after that they started sending more robots, and he was told uh to stop so the other participants had a chance. So Zuko said was was definitely bummed by that, but he decided to make his way up a building and lay on the top of it and just wait. Then the city starts shaking as everyone starts running away. Zuko was interested by this and stood up and looked over. And the first thing he saw was a robot about to crush a girl with brown hair. The first reaction Izuku had, he instantly used his flames to boost him straight towards the big robot, punching it, which this did manage to make the zero pointer stumble a bit, but it was still on a course. It wasn't quite there yet to Uraka, but Izuku was determined to make sure it didn't get any closer, so he instantly started pretty much melting a part of the zero pointer. And, alright, no, backtrack, that's it. He started melting a piece of like metal shrapnel that was kicked off from a building, and it got red hot enough to where he ate it. And this freaked out everyone who was the teachers who were watching. As Izuku said, now I've got a fire in my belly. And did the fire dragon roar. This pretty much melted the circuitry of the robot, causing it to fall backwards. And after the zero pointer was dealt with, Izuku went over to the brown haired girl and helped her out of a ruffle and asked her if she was okay. And she said that she doesn't think she can uh, walk. She twisted her ankle. And so Zuko helped her over to Recovery Girl. And Uraka, well, yeah, it's Uraka, but Zuko doesn't know that yet. Uraka asks his name and he says, "Oh, I'm Izuku Midoriya." Because he took Ingo's last name because Ingo adopted him. But after that, when little later, a couple days later, in the mail, Izuku received a letter from UA, and it was actually this time it was Nezu saying, "Congratulations, you got the highest score. While you barely passed the written exam, you surpassed most of our you surpassed almost equaled All Might's record. With All Might's record being 1,500, and yours being just shy of 1,000. We would be happy to accept you into class 1A. Your teacher will be Shoto Aizawa. And before you leave on your first day, come to the principal's office, because there are many among us who watched you during the entrance exam who are curious about your quirk." And that was the thing. It also came with a UA uniform and that. So the next day, Zuku went to his first day the at UA, and he walked into the room for class 1A and saw a blonde and blue-haired kid fighting. The blonde had his feet up on the desk, and the blue-haired kid was yelling at him because of it. Izuku just ignored it, and all of a sudden, brown haired girl says, "Hey, you're Izuku Midoriya, right? Thanks for saving me." And Izuku said, "Oh, it was no problem. By the way, what's your name?" And Uraka said, "That I'm Ochaka Uraka." And this is when Aizawa entered the classroom. "Okay, enough talking in class. Sit in your seat. You've already wasted my time. If you want to sit around and make friends, then this isn't the place for you." And everyone just sits down, and then Ozawa explains that to they won't be going to the assembly thing because it's a waste of time. That they will be doing a quirk assessment test, and this time no one says anything because just because. But so everyone grabs the uniform, the gym uniform for UA, and walks down to the lockers to get uh dressed. And and the incident with Mineta happens. Mineta finds a peephole into the girls' locker rooms, and starts saying uh disgusting things, and Izuku behind him with a flaming fist punches him away from the hole in the wall. And of course Jiro's listening in with her quirk, and Izuku says, "Stop being a perv and give the girls privacy." "I honestly hate people like you." And Mineta says, "What do you mean? I wasn't doing anything wrong." And Izuku says, "Shut it, grapes, before I use my fire to turn you into a raisin, a dried up raisin." And uh Mineta shivers at that. But then they all get out, and Jiro tells all the rest of the girls what happened, what she heard using her quirk. And so they all look at Izuku, thinking he was nice. And then Aizawa, uh, actually, yeah, and then Aizawa told the person who got the highest score in the entrance exam to step up and catch the ball. Now Bakugo, who didn't even bother to check to care if he was the first because he so cocky thinking he was. Walked straight up to there, and Aizawa said, "No, not you." Him throwing the ball to Izuku. And Aizawa says, "Okay, throw the ball while using your quirk and don't hold back." And Izuku says, "Oh, okay." And covers his hand in flames and tries to make it so it doesn't burn as much. And throws the ball. I'm gonna say Bakugo in the original you could get 750. And Izuku with Natsu's powers can get around 1,000 meters. And this amazes everyone. And after going through all of them, Deku um, got around first place, maybe even tying with Todoroki or Bakugo for first place of all. And after that, Izuku goes down to the principal's office because they were off for the day and says, "Hey, Principal Nezu, so what is it you want to know about my quirk?" And then Nezu says, "Well, actually, we all have some questions." And Eraserhead and Eraserhead, Midnight, Present Mike, and yeah, those three appeared. And then Nezu said, "First of all, how did you eat uh, that metal?" And Zuko says, "Oh, that? Uh, it'll be easier to demonstrate. Do you have any flames or anything?" And they look at him questionably, and they say, "Why?" And Zuko says, "So I can show you with a demonstration." And they say, "Okay." And they go off into out of the office so it doesn't get burned up by fire or something, out into like one of the training fields. And Aizawa hands Izuku a box of matches. And Izuku says, "This is this all?" And they say, "Yes, that's all we're willing to give, because we don't want you hurting yourself." And Izuku says, "Whatever." And he lights a match and eats the flame out of it. And then he say, "Hmm, not bad." and all of them looked at him confused. What did you just do? They, uh, Midnight asks, and Izuku says, "Oh, I can eat flame, which also I can use that flame for attacks." And they're like, "Oh, so that's how your quirk works?" Yep. Also, eating restores it too. But the other day you ate metal. Well, yeah, because it. Okay, whatever. That all that gets. They ask all the questions about his quirk and stuff, and he answers them all. And that will be the end of the first video for this, and that would be the end of the day for Zuko. So, goodbye.